there's some quilt chores or quilt tasks that you do on a routine basis. Maybe they're not so much fun, but you think they absolutely need to be done. If you have some of those, please be sure to comment about those in the comments below. Today I'm talking about 6 must-do quilt tasks. These are things that we need to do to help maintain our equipment. The first thing is you need to clean your sewing machine, and you need to clean it fairly frequently. Lots of lint and fuzz gets caught up down in the mechanics of your sewing machine, and that needs to be removed. Also, when you remove the bobbin, that area needs to be cleaned also. It gets kind of grimy and gets some black oily stuff in there, and that really needs to be kept clean. Sometimes you'll find threads that are wound up in your mechanics that need to be removed, so it is important to clean your machine. So that is a necessary evil, shall I say? Especially since it's Halloween. That kind of fits, doesn't it? Anyway, the second thing you need to do is, after you've cleaned it, be sure you oil it. And be sure you read your manual to see where you need to oil it. Don't just start putting oil here and there and everywhere. Read your manual. It tells you exactly where you need to oil it. Now, the reason it's important to read your manual to your sewing machine about how to oil it is because different sewing machines require different oiling. My Juki requires much more oil than my Bernina does, and I have to oil my Juki in several places that are different than where I oil my Juki. So be sure you're reading your sewing machine manuals. I also think it's important to take your sewing machine to a dealer and have it serviced at least annually. I sew a lot, so I try to have mine serviced every 6 months, but I do think it's important to do that at least once a year. Now, it is a little pricey, but our machines are pricey, especially if you're sewing on a top brand like Bernina or even the Jukis, or Janome, or there's so many out there that are really good quality sewing machines, but we want to be sure that we're taking good care of them so that they will last as long as possible. Another thing you need to do is change your sewing machine needle. If you hit a pin, you need to remove it and put in a new one. The tips can break off, causing all kinds of issues when you sew, but I just try to replace mine frequently. If I've been sewing, if I've done a big project, or if I've done like a ragtime quilt, I replace the needle. People underestimate the importance of this, and it really does make a difference. If you start having difficulties with your stitch length or the way your stitch lengths, try replacing your sewing machine needle first. That could be the root of all the problem. So be sure to change that frequently. I try to change it after every big project that I do. But I sew a lot also. Okay. The next thing you need to do is change your rotary blade. When you begin to feel drag when you're cutting and it's not cutting nice and smooth, it's time to replace that blade. Now, a lot of people keep cutting when their blades are dull, but it can affect the accuracy of your cutting, as well as it can put lots of stress and strain on your wrist, elbow, and shoulder. You may not be noticing that strain, but it can add up and cause issues with your joints in your wrist, elbow, and shoulder. So be sure you're changing your rotary blade frequently. Don't keep cutting when you feel that drag. And be sure you're using blades that cut well. The Olfa blades cut good, titanium blades are pretty good, but be sure it's a good blade. And again, be sure you change it when you start to feel that drag or hear that drag when you're cutting your fabric. The sixth thing you need to do is you need to clean your sole plate. Now, my sole plate used to never get very messy, but because I use a lot of starch and I still use Best Press, when you're using those things, it does have a tendency to kind of gum up your sole plate on your iron, and that stuff can get on your fabric. Okay, so those are 6 things that I feel like you have to do to help maintain your equipment while quilting. If you have any additional ones, please include them in the comments below. And until next time, have fun quilting.